You are listening to the Bright Life Podcast, all about ways to stay inspired, chase your dreams, and find more gratitude in the highs and lows of the journey. I'm your host, Jessica Johnson. I'm a business owner, a part-time digital nomad, a self-growth junkie, a believer in other big-hearted women, and am all about sharing tips, tricks, lessons learned, and encouragement so we can all live our biggest, brightest lives. You ready? Let's do this. Hey gorgeous, welcome to this week's episode. This one is so short and sweet. It's really just a thought and mindset reframe that I wanted to offer with you. It's been on my heart lately, and so I just figure maybe there's someone else out there who this can really shift something for. So this I was thinking about because I was remembering back to the early days of starting my business and how vulnerable it felt and how exciting it was, but at the same time, it just felt like I was putting myself so out there and sharing my story. And as I thought through that process, I discovered a way of thinking about things that really helped me. So I hope it helps you as well. Now, there is this famous quote by Rumi that says, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." And I've always thought that was so beautiful, but I'll give you a little backstory. So basically, right up until launching my first business, I had just expected everything to feel so smooth and so serene and like this closing chapter on my corporate days, on making the leap into something that felt really aligned and really beautiful for me. But the closer I got to actually doing it, it opened up all kinds of emotions just around it feeling really personal to share and to put myself out there. And, that business was in the health space, so it involved a lot of sharing my own journey with health and everything. And it started to feel so scary to me, where I had expected it to feel calm and peaceful and confident. And so one night I was just journaling on it, and that quote from Rumi came to mind, but I almost thought of it in another way, where instead of the wound is the place where the light enters you, what if the wound is also where your light can shine through? Meaning, we all have those perceived imperfections or quote unquote flaws or cracks, right? The way there is in a vase or in a window. But imagine that beautiful old window with the cracks, and isn't that where like the light shines through that window onto the street or through that vase or whatever it may be? And I kind of just got this picture of us like that, where, we're trying so hard to not show these wounds, not show these cracks or imperfections, and to have it be all smooth and perfect. But what if that's actually where your wisdom, where your compassion, where your beauty and your brilliance shines through? What if you sharing your story and opening up that wound, and not in a obviously negative way, but when you feel ready and when you feel like you have something to bring there, what if that's where the beautiful, most true, authentic parts of you and parts of your light shines out to others? What if that's what they see that really draws them to you because they're inspired by it, or because they recognize that same crack in themselves and they see that that light is pouring out of you through there, and so your story, your light really speaks to them. And if you don't share that, they would never even see it, because it would all just look too perfect and polished, right, for them to even see that. And so I started to just think through that and to just realize that you never know the ripple effect of you sharing your story or the wisdom that you've gained through an experience can have on someone else. You never know what post, what episode, what article, what it will do for someone. And that's even part of why I love sharing this podcast or sharing little nuggets like this, even when I don't exactly know why this has come to mind all these years later, because you just never know that ripple effect. And I think it's just a beautiful way to look at anything about your history or your life that feels blemished or feels like a crack versus this smooth, perfect part, and to look at it like you have all this light inside you. You have all this amazing compassion and wisdom and love and light, and all those little cracks, that's where that light is shining out. That's not something that you have to fix or hide. That's where your light gets to pour out, and you get to share a part of your story that's beautiful and that can really touch others, and that can showcase something that you've learned or become stronger from. It shows your strength, that light. And so the next time that you're thinking through anything that feels like you wish it wasn't there, or feels like a flaw or whatever it may be, just looking at it that way, that maybe that crack, maybe that wound is also where a little bit of your light gets out, and maybe others can see it, sure, but maybe that also is like this beam of light that draws them to you, right? And helps them recognize their own wounds or experiences or stories in yours, and gives you a chance to project that light out and to draw others into the story or into the wisdom or strength that you can share, the lessons. So that's kind of how I think about it now. Anytime that I have, a part of my story that feels a little bit more vulnerable, or feels like it's, something I had to work through, or feel like a little nervous about sharing, is like, I try and really reframe that to like, what if that is where the light gets out though? What if that's not only where the light enters you and where you have this invitation to call in more learnings and more wisdom, but what if that's also where what's inside of you and me and all of us gets to shine out and shine onto others and illuminate their path and make it a little bit brighter? So that's the message of this week. I hope it helps you embrace all parts of your story, all parts of yourself, the good, the bad, the beautiful, and just almost like that vase or that window where it's sometimes those imperfections that we love most in other things or in other people. And so just giving yourself that same kind of compassion and grace and perspective, that maybe that's exactly what people are seeing in you when you share those parts of yourself. All right, I hope you have a wonderful week and that this encourages you. I will be back next week and can't wait to share a little bit more with you. I recently created a free bonus for listeners that I'm super pumped about. It's a 7-day workbook to create your biggest, brightest life, full of exercises I use to bring my dreams to life, work through fears, and take inspired action. You can download it for free at bit.ly/podcast bonus, just as a thank you for listening. If you love this podcast, it would mean so much to me if you leave a review or share it with a friend. That helps so much with discoverability so others can find it too. Thank you so much for listening in. I'll talk to you next Thursday.